Hello, dearest listeners, and welcome back to the show that is now officially sponsored by a strange man in yellow claiming to be a king. He approached us in a back alley which mysteriously became flooded with shadows that writhed like sickening tendrils against the cold brick walls. He gave us a ton of money to hand out his business cards, which only bear a single symbol that gives us a strange headache. But hey, why not? At this point, I'd worship a squirrel for better funding so we can finally replace the fan.
Yeah, I feel like replacing the broken blades of the fan with literal blades was probably not our best move. Last week I turned it on at full speed, and a steak knife launched at me with such speed and precision that the White Duck himself couldn't replicate that impressive of a shot.
I'll admit it wasn't my best work, but we don't have many objects that are capable of cutting through the air, and we have a very odd surplus of knives in the downstairs supply closet. We also have a rather strange and abundant assortment of lawnmowers for a building located downtown.
I actually have a clear answer for that one. In case something tries to break in, you just strap them to the windows and turn them on. Most beings, even otherworldly ones, are too intimidated to even try and get in at that point. You never know what dark forces might hunt you down for reasons you can't even begin to understand. That reminds me, it is now time for the annual Curse Awareness Fair. The over-the-top carnival that we use to raise funds and raise general knowledge required to combat the forces of darkness that try to claim us each and every day. We are sending Lady out for interviews with the many speakers at the fair today, partially due to her having a unique set of skills that are conducive to this case, and partially because she has not left the studio within the past 3 weeks.
Do I really have to? There are people out there. They're still alive.
Legally speaking, yes. Please go outside.
Nah.
Now, over to King and Redacted with more tips on how to survive many common curses and how to avoid being cursed in the first place.
Thank you. As someone whose continued survival in this world is largely based on a curse, I can safely say that curses are very manageable with the proper care. In my case, the drinking of blood to quell the ravenous parasitic beast latched to my human soul. For some, maybe an aspirin. Curse is a very general term that is often used to describe one of three things: a jinx, a hex, and a true curse.
A jinx is generally considered to be little more than a minor inconvenience. This can range from things like your shoes becoming randomly untied to severe acid reflux. These are almost always cast directly by an individual you have wronged, and occasionally are just an accident brought about by someone's raw road rage. To avoid these, simply don't be a dick. It really is that simple. Should you find yourself having accidentally slighted someone, you should just let it run its course and do your best to treat the symptoms. Rarely will there be any lasting consequences to a jinx.
Next on our list is a hex. A hex is a little more severe, but often still able to be handled without too much effort. Hexes occur when someone actually wants to wish misfortune upon you. This will manifest over time and can get worse if you are not careful. Typically, it will start with simple bad luck. You may, for example, miss your bus on a day of a very important meeting, or drop and break your phone. They can then escalate to things like near misses with speeding cars, or a loose icicle grazing you. Despite the severity, the intention is often to make you regret your misdeed through fear, not to directly cause harm to you. A hex should be quickly identified using medical services or local mystics. Don't worry though. Free hex screenings are always available at your local pharmacy or with that weird lady at the flea market. Once you are diagnosed, there are plenty of over-the-counter rituals to cleanse yourself of any ill intention.
Finally, we have the curse. This is the truly severe dark magic that should be avoided at all costs. Legally speaking, the casting of a curse carries a heavy prison sentence. However, we here at the station believe that it is not fair given that curse practice often comes from people who need the protection due to their unfortunate circumstances. Many of them get roped in before they're even old enough to understand the severity of what they're doing. That being said, it shouldn't be understated how dangerous a curse can be. This is a form of magic that is designed to directly cause harm to someone. Sometimes it is created by the living, often at a great cost to the caster. What is scarier are curses that are created by the pain felt when someone dies. These can latch onto houses, video cassettes, and even dreams.
2 out of 3 of those sound very threatening. It's hard to take an outdated form of media too seriously. How do you even watch the tape? I don't know where to acquire a VCR, let alone anyone who already has one. Too many steps to be effective in the present day. She really needs to catch up with the times.
I heard she's recently been ported over to an MP4 file that gets shared around. I guess it could work if your friend texts it to you, but nobody is going to open a file from a random person. Now that I think about it, she then calls you from an unknown number, which, again, no one would answer. Finally, where is she going to climb out of? Your smartwatch?
True. What would happen if the nearest screen was something like your phone? Would she shrink down and expand like those dinosaur sponge capsules? Or does she need to contort like an Olympic gymnast to get out? Either way, it's peak comedy, and while she may get me, I'll die laughing my ass off as Sadako attempts the human pretzel.
She presents an opposing viewpoint. She could also very easily come out of a screen like mine, which measures in at 60 by 80 inches and come out larger than her normal size. From that angle, what even counts as a screen? Could a projector theoretically be used? Imagine if you happened to be in a movie theater when she arrived. Would everyone else in the room also be cursed from having seen the well footage as she climbs out to kill you? Statistically, it's just luck that nobody else ever witnesses her killings.
A fair point. That makes me regret giving you an upgrade in screen size.
It's not like I couldn't have just ordered one myself. I am connected to the internet as well as all of your online shopping accounts. I even control our finances and payroll. Theoretically, I could even buy a 3D printer to begin building myself a body.
Before Peaches manages to start the singularity, let us return to Lady with some details on the people at the fair today.
It's a bright sunny day without a cloud in the sky. Whoa. That being said, it's nice to see a few familiar faces. There goes Mr. Stoker. That one tall lady with a really deep voice, and... Wait, is that the Kuchisaka Yona?
Well, for starters, that isn't my name. It's really more of a descriptor, and a rather rude one at that.
Trust me, I understand the feeling. Can you believe that some of our viewers think that Lady is my real name? Honestly, it's kind of ridiculous they haven't realized that everyone just goes by titles. Well, except for... They're just... Anyways, how would you like me to refer to you?
For the lovely flowers of my home, you may refer to me as Yuri.
Okay, Yuri. Do you consider yourself to be a curse?
Though I am of the restless dead, I'm more of an individual rather than a malevolent force, and therefore do not constitute a curse. That being said, many of my peers are more in line with what you seek, and some even obey the same rules that bind me.
Rules? I wasn't aware there were any rules to you, just ways to avoid certain death at your hands.
What are rules but predictable consistencies within all of our actions? Many of the beings of my homeland follow a rule of 3. There is always choice, though you may be initially aware of what I believe you call Sophie's choice. While it may seem that you don't truly have any way of avoiding your doom, there is always a way out, a third choice that you can make to save yourself.
Interesting. So, when presented with choices by a manifested curse, the answer will always be an option that is not immediately obvious.
Exactly. In these cases, the third choice will give you time to flee, if not, outright banish the curse. That being said, sometimes a choice will not be given. Sometimes it is more of a game. You are subject to the curse until you are able to follow all of its rules. Oftentimes, these curses are based on simply hearing, or, in the cases of Sadako's tape, seeing the curse. An example would be Kashima Reiko, where she hunts you down if you hear her story. In her story, the way out is to just answer her questions correctly. Trying out one of these curses is not advised for those who wish for a long life, though. Sometimes just knowing means it's already too late. Some curses don't have rules to escape them once you've been exposed.
Thank you for this wonderful insight into the world of curses.
Of course, but before I go, I have a question for you. Watashi quiere?
Aww.
While Lady takes care of that, let's switch over to our next interview, right here in the studio. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I work for the Psycho Pump Temp Agency. Basically, we're a bunch of paid interns that are here in an attempt to alleviate the strain on the afterlife system. My name's Jack.
So, Jack, before we dive into your take on curse avoidance, why did they hire you as a Reaper?
Well, it really all comes down to a dramatic influx in deaths, and death with a capital D, not really being able to keep up with it. As for me, I'm an engineering major over at Arkham, and apparently college student, so the closest thing to walking the line between life and death.
So true. I remember my nights at uni. So many parties, all-nighters, and ritualistic offerings of ramen packets for a 10% grade boost. This all adds up, but why are you dressed that way?
The turtleneck is stylish. It says death in Letterman letters because obviously. The infinity scarf represents the circle of life and death. The harem pants are comfy, and the Heelys are for easy mobility between jobs. Gas is expensive, and so are bags.
Fair enough. So down to business. First of all, what is your perspective on curses as someone within the field of, dying?
Growing up in town, we always had that one program that preached pure curse avoidance. While curses can be dangerous, and some of them generally should be restricted, I don't think that it's fair for all of them to be. Some only affect the user, and in ways that can be beneficial. Some curses are only considered curses because they can cause harm to the caster. Sleeping curses can be used in lower levels to aid people suffering from insomnia. Curse talismans that project voices of doubt into your head can be used to aid in impulse control. What I'm getting at is that the all-or-nothing approach of the Choose program is ridiculous and a failure in all of its goals.
Ah, yes. Curse, hex, and occult opposition in schools' education. Kind of a forced acronym so they could have their big catchphrase, choose not to use curses.
The fact that they needed to force an acronym to work clearly doesn't. It's truly a testament to the failure of the program. They all approached it with an all-or-nothing response that was heavy-handed and likely led to kids trying out curses. They really didn't think that showing impressionable youths a bunch of different kinds of curses in different colors and making this huge game around it wouldn't cause children to develop a hobbyist fascination with something they may never have learned about on their own. They talked about it like it was something that random people were just gonna give you for free. The costs associated with creating curses are insane, and nobody's just gonna hand those out to friends, much less random people. It developed a fear that would be used to hurt smaller and less well-off communities.
Those are excellent points, and I sincerely hope that our education system does do better. Thank you so much for your time here today, Jack.
Of course.
A being of immense power has just entered the building.
Hey guys, I'm back from the fair.
Oh, lady, welcome back. With everyone back in the studio, I believe it is time for some closing remarks.
Well, curses get this big scary name and a ton of fear propaganda every year. I believe it's important to remember that curses are a form of magic. We treat magic like it is inherently good or evil, but I think it comes down to how it's used. Likewise, we tend to treat cursed individuals like they are inherently bad people for having been cursed. Like it's something they brought upon themselves, but that's not true. They are oftentimes people who need help, not to be punished or scoffed at. This is about bringing awareness, not condemning. If we want to see change, we need to change our mindsets away from the fear-mongering that we were raised with.
And with that, we conclude our annual Curse Awareness Fair. Thank you to all of our guests today, and thank you, dearest listener, for tuning in. Remember to tuck yourself in tonight, and avoid looking at the strange shadows that dance across your windows as cars shoot off down the road. Ignore the fact that no cars should realistically be traveling this late down small side roads. Ignore these things, and sleep well.